Welcome to Keep Sweet, the Positive World podcast. I am your host, Joshua Gonzalez, and on today's episode, I am joined for a little bit by my husband, Matt Tolber. Hi.
Yo.
Yeah, he's here, so if you hear him, that's who that is. And later on, that's enough said. Later on, I have a wonderful conversation with our good friend, Shelly Rodriguez, who is an amazing artist in many disciplines. Matt, what is your favorite thing that Shelly does?
She's just like the life of the party.
Ooh.
You know, like you bring her around and she's going to put a smile on everyone's face. And she's just also very like, she builds your confidence too. Like she's so willing to give a compliment to everybody.
That is true.
That she just lifts your spirits.
Yeah. So be on the lookout, or just not be on the lookout, just get excited for that interview because it's really great. And she just has wonderful things to say about the artist life right now in this current predicament that we find ourselves in. So it's really great. Stay tuned for that. Also, before we get to today's good news story, what should they do, Matt, to help the podcast out?
They should review, probably. Leave a review. 5 stars only.
No, they can leave whatever they feel they need to leave. All feedback will be taken.
And tell a friend.
Yeah, tell a friend. That would go out to help the podcast a lot and help, get it out there. And it means the world to me. So many of you have already done that, and that's amazing. So today's good news story. Matt, listen to this because I'm excited. Scientists at the University of New South Wales in Australia. Ooh, I thought it was going to be like the UK. I don't know anything about geography. Okay, so these scientists have developed a special ceramic ink made of calcium phosphate that is able to be bioprint with live cells. So basically what they can do is they can go in and they can 3D print bones directly into a patient's body.
See, that was the translation I needed.
Well, sorry, I was starting to read the actual story, and then I realized, oh, this is a lot of scientific jargon that's hard to understand. So then I just went and I read the headline.
It sounded like you were in the vocab section of the biology book, just reading the words.
Okay, well, there's some chemistry in there. Okay, so basically, due to science that I know nothing about, scientists can now 3D print bones in your body. Isn't that great? So if you have, and it's not even for a broken bone, but if you have a bone defect or the bone can't heal itself, they can just go in and print you a bone inside of your body.
That is wild. Do you think they're going to be able to do that for
I
kidneys?
don't know. I don't
barely know about the bones.
I barely know. I just found out about the bones. So yeah.
How crazy.
I know. We'll have to stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for what? The kidneys?
Yeah, for the kidneys.
They don't even know we want that.
I think
your senators.
Oh my God. I think scientists do know that we need more options for transplant or replacement organ options. So I think, yes, they do know we want that.
Do you think people are going to start printing their own bones at home? Because, people have 3D printers. Can you just download what you want to print and print it?
Okay, yes, but this takes a few different chemical and biological processes that I think you have to be very skilled at, and you have to have certain chemical access to. So it's not as easy as printing something from plastic. But I mean, I'm sure someone will print a bone, I guess, if they want. Yeah. So that is today's good news story. Chew on that. And on to today's interview. Hey guys, today's guest is an artist, designer, and serial hobbyist. Please welcome to the podcast, Shelly Rodriguez. Hi, Shelly.
Hi, glad to be here.
Did you like my made-up term for serial hobbyist?
Yes, thank you.
Is hobbyist a real word? Do you know?
I feel like yes, but it brings into mind grandmas that do things in the olden times, crocheting. I guess some regular people crochet too. I don't know.
Have you never crocheted?
Actually, yeah, I have. I have crocheted with PVC pipes. I really wanted one of those chunky blankets, but the only way you can get the right weave is either knitting it with your arms or knitting it with PVC pipe. So I chose PVC pipe. Came out great though.
Oh, see, there you go, guys. That is just a taste of how Shelly Rodriguez can do anything and why I'm excited to have her on today's episode. So first, Shelly, I want to talk about where did your artistic side come from? Where did you first stumble upon that? Where was it fostered? Let us know.
So I actually have a pretty vivid memory of, I think the pinpoint is I was in elementary school and I learned about the color wheel for the first time. And the way that it was explained to me is that there is a way to make blue feel more blue, like the most blue that it can possibly feel. And you do that by using its alternate on the color wheel, which is orange. So if you surround blue by orange, both of the colors just seem to like sort of vibrantly like pop off of the paper or whatever medium you're using. And I think that that idea, that concept, like really like shaped a lot of the way I perceived color and form. So I played a lot with contrast when I was a child, whether it was with color or also with shape. I just like love the idea that using one thing can like really bring out the strengths of another thing.
That is fascinating to me that like color was your first introduction into this world, this artistic world and artistic brain. Because when I first met you, you were Shelly Rodriguez, lighting design extraordinaire in college. You had the best lighting design for all the plays that we did, and you were notorious for going above and beyond anyone else because it was like, oh, Shelly, who's a student, is going to like design the show. She's going to use every single lighting instrument we own, and we're going to have to find more, and there's going to be spots and moving lights and everything, and it's going to be amazing and beautiful. um, so how did you get into that side?
So I'm actually classically trained as a musician, and I have been my whole life. My entire family plays musical instruments.
There's
So,
nothing you can't do.
so I was pretty serious on flute when I was in high school, up until I started doing theater in college. But I had always wanted to be in the pit orchestra because that was like the ideal thing because you're storytelling through music. And it's like, I have always loved storytelling in general. Like I've been a big reader my whole life. And so like marrying those two interests was like always very exciting for me. But pit orchestras have like two flautists. And so I could never get in. It was so irritating to me. So I just was like, after I didn't get in for like the third time because the competition was too steep, I was like, well, I'm just going to go and tell the theater people that I just want to work on their play. And so I started working with them. But the big thing happened, I guess, they like wanted a volunteer to like do a battle of the band, like a high school battle of the bands thing. So they showed me a lighting board for the first time. In those days, the lighting boards were huge, and there was like sort of a button and a fader that controls each individual light that's up in the grid. So what I discovered during this Battle of the Bands thing is that you can play the lighting board like a piano. It's lighting and music are so tightly interwoven. You have dynamics, you have theme and variation, you have shaping, everything. It was just like it clicked for me because of how related it was. And then that's like kind of when I sort of realized that like lighting is like the visual equivalent of underscoring, just visually. And so that's what drew me into lighting and how it became like such a big part of my life, because it was this abstract way of thinking that is like shaping an emotional journey, but on the DL. And there's something like really cool about that.
I absolutely love that answer. And it's so like you were the first person to get me excited about lighting design because obviously like it's so clear in your design that is how you think of it. Like it is that shaping and it is that storytelling and it is um adding so much with like I think the best lighting design, in my opinion, I don't know about yours, is like the audience doesn't necessarily notice it,
Absolutely.
but it adds so much to the show.
Yes.
Like,
I mean, it's crazy, but I was watching something at one point, and this actor was doing this absolutely beautiful, heartbreaking monologue. But I recognized that it was this like tiny, almost imperceivable shift in the lighting that sort of like took her monologue and it just it like enveloped her in darkness by like shrinking the pool of light like down to her and changing the color ever so slightly. And I mean, like you could tell that when that cue was done, plus her monologue, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. And it was like, absolutely, it was a part of that moment. But like, if you would ask someone who is not a lighting designer, or even lighting designers, because like you get so wrapped up in the moment that like you don't notice. But like I did notice, and it was just incredible to like see the kind of power that lighting can have imperceptibly.
I love
Yeah.
that. So, we have your music background, your theater background, your many designs on top of just lighting. Like I know, especially in our undergrad, we kind of all had to dabble in everything. And then you ended up going to grad school as well, right?
Yes. So I went to grad school sort of unintentionally. I went
Like on accident?
yes, I actually went to ERDA's, which is like this portfolio presentation for grad schools, because I wanted to get more feedback on my work, because the design program at our undergrad is very small. And
Mhm.
so I wanted lighting specific people to like look at my work and like tell me, help me figure out like what I should do next. And it was through that I met my mentor, Don Holder, who is a huge Broadway lighting designer. He was head of lighting at CalArts at the time. He saw my work, and he, unlike everybody else, was not as complimentary, but he gave me direct critique on how I could improve and how things like were incongruent from like one to the other when I was explaining stuff. And I loved it, because like I don't need the kind of critique that's gonna tell me that I'm great. Like I want to become better.
Yeah,
And he
exactly.
was the right mentor for me, because he was so talented, and he knew exactly how to articulate what to do to like take your good idea and make it great. So
That's
yeah.
amazing. Yeah. And that's like you and me are, I think, so much alike in that. And like we always want to, if we're going to do something, we want to be the best, or like we want to try to be the best. We want to go all in, and we want that critique that's going to make us better. Like
Yeah,
we can take it. We want that critique, give it to us.
absolutely.
It's all in pursuit of becoming better. And I think that's so valuable for people to find people who are going to give them that kind of critique, and not just be like, oh yeah, you're amazing. Like that mother critique is what I call it.
Yeah.
Because like, of course my mom is going to say everything I do is amazing, but
Yes,
like
yes.
I
And you
need,
need that, and that is important, because
yeah,
like you need to have that support. But at the same time, when you're striving to become the best version of yourself, like helpful critique is instrumental in helping you
mhm,
get there.
yeah. So take us now on to like where you are at now in your artistic journey, and like what are you doing in your work? How are you working with your artistic abilities in today?
Okay. So I'll travel a little bit through my journey at CalArts, because that was a huge shaping point
Yeah.
in my life. So CalArts was an interesting dichotomy, because Don Holder is such a strong Broadway musical lighting designer, but
Hmm.
CalArts, the school, is experimental theater through and through. So like getting those double points of view was incredible, and both of them are so different from theater in Texas. um, but yeah, so my experimental theater background like sort of gave me permission and agency to be able to work in other departments and have a voice in having a stronger voice in being able to create the production as a whole. Like you doing devised theater, doing experimental theater, like this became my way of working after after going to CalArts. So post CalArts, I would assist under Don, and then I would do my own work, which was a lot of experimental, smaller stuff. But it was work that was important to me because it had a message. There was like layered meaning. It required research, and I was working with these incredible artists.
Hmm.
Um, so I was doing that for a while. But I decided that wanted to make a shift because I mean, let's be honest, there's not that much money in theater. So I
There's
would have to,
zero money in theater.
it's crazy. So I would be stacking like 5 shows on top of each other to make things work and then do stuff on the side.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't take it. Like it was so much stress and the work suffered. And that I couldn't do. Like if my name is on something, like I want it to be good. Like I can't have terrible work going out with my name on it. So I had started working in reality TV actually. So I would be doing theater shows, and then to supplement, I would take a reality TV show. And they were really crazy, the reality TV shows that I took. Like one was a haircutting competition that traveled around.
Oh, no.
Yeah, nobody watched it. That's okay. But it sort of like opened the door to the other side. So I learned about I learned about film and like all of the different things that you can do in film, because it is so much bigger than theater. Like every job that you do in theater is split up into multiple departments, which is like huge. But what I really liked about that is that, like, because there are so many more people and so much more support and so much more money, you can have these ideas and you have the resources to be able to create like on a bigger scale, or try things that maybe aren't going to work, but like you have enough money and time and people to like figure out what's going to work. But first, let's try this thing. Yeah. And in film, there's a lot of research, which I also always love. I love learning. So getting to like learn about all of these different places and people that I don't know, or in settings, or how to build stuff, like that is a huge part of my job now. And I really like that. I guess I should say I transitioned from working in lighting to working more in set design, although my job title is a set decorator, which is a little bit different. But it's because the theater design and scenic design for film are very similar in the way that they operate. Just it's bigger. But lighting design for theater and lighting design for film are completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different. So I took a sideways move, and it's been very rewarding.
That's amazing. And again, it's a testament to your abilities in that, like, you're like, oh, this other thing that I do know about, yeah, I can do that. Like you've spent so much time knowing so much about storytelling in various mediums, and you've also have taken so much time to know that you can learn what you don't know.
Absolutely.
Which is like so cool and inspiring to me, to be honest. Because like you can do everything, and like that's just like something I struggle with too. Like I on top of this, what you guys don't know is Shelly. I also know Shelly to be an amazing like professional level chef. She wanted to up her cooking skills, so she went to take culinary classes, and she's an excellent chef. She at one point wanted to learn how to play the cello, and so she got a cello, and she went to cello classes, and she like learned how to play the cello. And this morning, what class did you have this morning, Shelly?
Oh, I'm in the conversational Spanish to keep my Spanish going.
Yeah, so she just never stops learning, and anything she wants to do, she goes full force, and she learns how to do it. And that is just so crazy and awesome. And I could use a little bit more of that. I mean, I think I have that, but I want to do too many things at once. So like I get a little like, I don't know which one to start next or something. You know what I mean?
Well, I have some good advice.
Ooh, okay. I would love some.
The answer is any of them. Pick something at random and start it. Because like the hardest thing to do is getting started. And once you get started, you get back in the mindset of either learning something new, or like getting back into, I mean, I think that like music has been like really a big thing with me because of the concept of practicing. Like practicing was such a big part of my life. Like I did it like two hours a day just to like keep it up, like become better. But like this idea of like knowing that you're going to be bad, it's going to be okay, because if you keep doing it, you will see how you improve. So if you take that musical concept and apply it to anything that you do, nothing seems as hard.
Yeah. You just have to have that that discipline in practice.
Yes.
And I'm very grateful that we both kind of got that instilled in us very early.
Yeah.
I feel like that's very important for a lot of people, and like maybe soon to be parents or parents who are listening. Like if you can get your kids in that performance of practice, I feel like that is just so helpful.
Yes.
I'm curious a little bit on like, where do you think your curiosity comes from of like wanting to try all these different things. Because like some people are like, I do this one or two things and that's like totally satisfactory to them. And like they're so good at those two things and they love to do it. But you and me a little bit are like, I want to do everything. Like I want anything I want to do, I want to do it.
I actually think that it comes from loving books as a kid.
Ooh.
Because I have always loved reading because you like get to live the life of another person for the amount of time that you spend in those pages.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more you read, like the more people's lives you get to sort of experience in different like ways of living and approaching the world. And it's not, I get jealous sometimes of like all of these different experiences and lives that people get to have, and you only get to have just one.
Yeah.
So I think that sort of ties off to like everything, because like movies and TV and theater, it's all the same. Like it's all storytelling. Like tell me a story, let me live in this world with you. So yeah, I want to be able to do anything and be anybody, even if it's just for like a short amount of time. Like that's what was so fun about culinary school. Like I didn't even tell anybody like in my background. Like people just assumed that it was like culinary related. It's like absolutely not. I just think this is awesome.
That is so fun because I know that is like what drawed? Oh my gosh. I need to be in English class. That's what drew me to like acting and performing, because like you get to be someone else and you get to like try on a new
Yeah.
life and you get to explore a different avenue of life that you wouldn't have before. So like that's so exciting. And it's really cool to know that that sentiment carries over to other people with other disciplines, and like you're still able to live out that let's try a new life for a little bit and see what I like and what I don't like here. So on that, you've done so many things. What are like some of your favorite things that you've tried, whether or not you were good or bad at it, or you succeeded or not? Like, what do you think are some of like the cool, like your really ones that you were like, oh wow, I never really thought I would be into this, but I tried it and wow, I really like it and I'm really good at it, or not, I guess.
Well, we did talk about cello for a
Yes.
moment. Learning the cello was really fun. I'm a short person, so it turns out that my big struggle with cello is that you really should be a certain height. So, like, they kind of were like, you maybe would consider a child cello, and I was like, absolutely not.
A child cello.
Yeah, they wanted one size down from a full size cello, but it doesn't have the same sound, so I
Right.
wasn't into it. I wasn't into that. But I mean, it's a little bit of a physical struggle to play the cello because I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like a little bit too short for it.
Well, and like you also would have to like lug it through New York City to go to
Oh yeah, the
class.
train system. Yeah, I took it on the subway all the time. But luckily, a cello was like relatively light, so it wasn't like
Oh.
too bad. It was just like kind of awkward because it is, almost my same size, strapped to my back like a backpack. But it's very rewarding, and it's just like very nice to like get to explore these other facets of yourself, because I have had these moments in my life where I sort of define myself but what by my profession, like whatever I'm doing, like I am a lighting designer, that's like attached to my personality. But it's like actually it isn't. Like you're so much more than a lighting designer, and it sort of diminishes you to like put that as your identity, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to being just like a piece of something that you as like a greater person do.
Yeah. And I think that is so important today, with like
Mm-hmm.
so many people who are gone a whole year without doing the thing that they love. Like I know, especially the performance community, like almost no one has been able to perform or like perform in the way they want to, like on a stage or somewhere. And so it's like this whole thing was my identity for so long and now I can't do it. So now it's like, who am I? I don't know. I think a lot of people are coming to terms with the fact that like it's okay. Like that's just a piece of you. You can be a multifaceted person with so many more things. And like, yeah, that's the one thing you did for so long, so much, like the majority of your time, but that's not all you.
Absolutely. And I think like a really dangerous idea that I have been hearing as people, because I mean artists all over are like reconsidering like
Yeah.
their lives right now, like my community for sure. But like a really dangerous idea that I've heard in my community is this idea that like you have put in so much work thus far. Like it's a waste. You would have wasted that time if you switch and do anything else. And that just breaks my heart because it doesn't honor the fact that you are shaped by all of your experiences. Like I am strong at what I do now because of all of the other things that I have been in the past. And it doesn't take away from my artistic expression that I don't do lighting design as much anymore. Like I'm still an artist, like I'm still growing, like I still have found ways to do the global idea, which is a storyteller. And so it's just taking a step back and like re-examining like what you actually want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, like as you are a testament to, it's like your learning and practicing other disciplines helps you pick up other disciplines, or like you're able to translate those skills to so many other things as well. So like you never lose those skills.
No, it's never a waste.
Yeah.
Nothing that you do is ever a waste. It's just building on top of.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. So in the future, what do you think, like, what are some things you have yet to try your hand at that you want to try?
So what I really would like to do is I would like to work on a fantasy or sci-fi show. Like,
Ooh.
yes.
A set decorator?
Yes, as a set decorator. What is so cool about those kinds of shows is that you get to create a whole nother you get to create a whole nother design language. Like everything is from scratch. And so it's like so cool to get to have like kind of pure creation that you can pull research from whatever you want to build whatever you want. It's like a lot of those movies that come out are like not super great story wise, but if you like delete the story and are just looking at the design aspect of it, there's so much care that is put into like building this world. So to like find a series that marries a good story with beautiful design, like that's the kind of thing that I want to do. And like Game of Thrones was like that for a little while in the beginning. I mean, things got a little off the rail, but there was like definitely moments where it was, you could see that there was so much love that was put into that show by the designers. So that's hopefully where I get to go at some point. But really, I mean, my goal is to have an interesting design life with lots of different types of jobs and lots of different types of people. So that's what I'll be looking forward to.
Yeah. And I mean, like you're already doing it. So it's like you're basically already there.
Yes, great. Winning.
Right, so someone out there give Shelly her own show that she can just world build from the ground up.
Yes.
I want to see it. I want to see what your insane brain comes up with in like a fantasy world.
It would probably be pretty crazy.
It would be insane, and then it would be amazing. That's like the two things I know for sure. So anything you want to like shout out, or where people can find you if you want them to find you, or anything like that? You can say no.
Sure. So I have a website going on. It's ShellyRodriguez.com. You can see a little bit of my set decoration work and a little bit of my lighting design work. You can also follow me on Instagram at whimsically lit. I post a lot about my day-to-day life as a decorator. So if you are interested in seeing the kinds of places and things that I have to go and do, that's a good place to start.
Yay. And I'll put all that in the description for the episode so people can click on those links and find you. And thank you so much for being on this episode of the podcast. It was so great to talk to you about your whole design life and just about your artistic life in general, because it's so cool.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
Yay, thank you.
Yay.
Thank you guys so much for making it this part in the episode and for listening to our interview, or my interview with Shelly Rodriguez. It was amazing. She's amazing. Go follow her on all the stuff. Matt, what did you think about the interview?
I will love it after I listen to it when it comes out. You guys, he keeps these top secret. He doesn't let me hear them until they are released.
I know. Not even Matt has heard it, but I'm sure he's going to love it.
It was great. Shelly's a smart cookie.
Yeah. Oh, ooh, okay.
She also makes good cookies.
She makes amazing cookies. And we talked about her culinary expertise in the interview. Thank you guys so much for listening. Be sure to share, rate, review, all that stuff. You can email me to let me know if there's someone you want on the podcast. KeepSweetPodcast@gmail.com.
How many
You can
Gmails
also
do you have?
way too many. You can also send in a voice memo if you want to be featured on the podcast with like your own good news story or something like that. Just do all that stuff. I can't wait to hear from you all. And yeah, keep going. I will see you next Thursday as always. Keep sweet.